Hey everybody, Austin here with another Let's Play video. Today, as you can see, is going to be Castlevania Blood Moon for the NES. This is a NES ROM hack from 2006. Copyright is 2005, but it was actually, according to the internet, released in January of 2006. This is by a fellow who goes by Red ROM, who apparently did a bunch of earlier NES ROM hacks. This was apparently a joint project, though, according to romhacking.net. Had a bunch of different people attributing to the graphics and things like that. And other changes, it's an interesting ROM hack. It's compared to other ROM hacks I have played on the NES, it is quite solid. You know, the majority of the game has been changed in terms of visuals and things like that. Unfortunately, all the music is still pretty much the same, but much of the visuals have been changed. Some sprites from other NES games have been slapped in place of some of the old sprites, and the game does look fairly unique as a result. The level design leaves a bit to be desired. It's very clunky, in my opinion. The author's page for this game states it is a very difficult game, and it is difficult, but difficult for kind of all the wrong reasons. Just really nasty enemy placement, very cheap enemy placement, very clunky stage design. You can see all those like single tile blocks there just make for clunky movement on the level, so it doesn't really feel that good to play, unfortunately. But that said, it is an old ROM hack. It's still a solid effort, and if you're a big Castlevania fan, you might still want to check this out. Just be prepared to be frustrated when you play this game. I was so frustrated playing this, and not because it wasn't something I couldn't get through. I've gotten through the game about 5 or 6 times now, and it was just tedious to get through it. It's the tedious kind of difficulty, not really a fun kind of difficulty. I mean, for some people, just difficulty in general is just not fun. But this, to me, as someone who likes difficulty, it was a very tedious form of difficulty. So, for me, there's fun difficulty, and then there's tedious difficulty, where it's like, I can do this. It's not fun to do it, and it's just work. So that's what Castlevania Blood Moon is for me. But that said, I have gone through this game quite a few times. I feel like I've got a decent route through the game. It still requires me to play very safe, though, very carefully, because according to the romhacking.net page, some of the item drop rates have been toyed with, so enemies have a tendency of dropping items more often, which means you can kill an enemy and then run into them without thinking about it, and then accidentally pick up a dagger or an axe, or it's not really an axe in this, but it's a sickle, or something like that. Basically, you might end up switching off of your holy water equivalent, which is a bomb, or you might want the stopwatch, or hourglass as it's called in this game. And that will actually make your life a lot more difficult just because you switch items. So item management in this game, this ROM hack, is actually very important if you want to get through the game really without too much trouble. So yeah, let's hope for the best here, and I'll try to talk about some various strategies and things like that as we go through the game. So, but before we kick things off, as usual, I'd like to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers. So they're going to flash by the screen. Thanks everyone for your continued support. As well as the live stream super chatters and channel members. Your support here really helps me out, so thanks a lot. And I hope you guys continue to enjoy getting these videos early over there on Patreon and the YouTube channel member section. So, alrighty guys, so with that, let's go ahead and hit the start button here and just jump right into it. So there's no easing you into this ROM hack. You've got bats right from the very beginning of this, and so what we're going to do is sort of just stand here, and 2 bats always come out, or I guess they're kind of birds. They don't really look like bats. But 2 of these birds always come out right there, and they can knock you into that pit. And there we go. This is our holy water equivalent. And we still have the little treasure there that can appear, but I messed that up. It ended up getting sucked into that doorway, just like you can in the original Castlevania. And look at that. We got ourselves the hourglass. The hourglass would actually appear right up here. So if you would come over here and hit this second candle, that's where the hourglass normally appears. And these spiders are actually, swaps for the Black Panthers in the original Castlevania. Those red books there they're basically the equivalent of the potions in the original Castlevania, which make you invincible. They actually drop quite a bit in this game. Also, you've got this this breakable block right here. It's actually mandatory on this section, and what you want to do is make sure you hit it and go through it immediately. If you hit it and then go to that dead end on the top, and you scroll back, the block will be filled right back in, and you won't be able to break it a second time without dying. So you can actually be soft locked there, which is really annoying. There are a couple points in the game where that is possible to happen, so you have to be very careful. Also, these tall tombstones right here, for some odd reason, they glitch you out, and you can't do anything until you slide off of them. So that's, you know, a bunch of different aspects like that were very frustrating to me to learn. You can also just skip this whole section just like that, and we're gonna do just that. And so what I plan on doing is sticking with the stopwatch equivalent, which is this hourglass that we have, for most of the first couple of levels. It makes life so much easier. You know, the difficulty is cranked up on these stages. The birds come out at higher rates, and they fly across the screen faster, as if it was Loop 2 of Castlevania or something like that. Also, Stage 2 introduces the Medusa equivalents, which is basically these eyeballs they took from Castlevania 2, and they fly up and down just like the Medusa heads. And let's go ahead and just, I don't want to accidentally grab a weapon from these zombies, so I'm just going to try to jump over them like so. But there's some other alterations and additions made as well. But for this first boss here, just like with the bat in the first Castlevania, you can freeze him in place with the hourglass, and then that's it. So there are a couple different things that have been changed here. For one, you actually have this forward slide whipping attack that you can do. It can actually get you killed. So it's actually, on one hand, it's really cool that you can actually slide forward and attack at the same time. Like, I'll try to demonstrate it right here. So you just constantly stay in motion as you whip. But the problem is when you do that, you'll actually slide right off of a platform, kind of like this, and then you'll fall straight down. So we just slide like that, and then we could slide like this again, and we just go straight off the platform. Now, it's not really a problem on a screen like this, and also this is going to be a boomerang right there. I actually don't want the boomerang on this level. I want to stick with the stopwatch, and on the second to last room, we'll get ourselves the bomb, which is the holy water equivalent, and we'll just use it on the Medusa equivalent as well. But yeah, you have to be very careful with this ability, because you can just end up getting yourself killed by falling off a platform that you weren't intending on falling off. And we're invincible again for a couple of moments. Gonna take that to use that to our advantage. We're gonna freeze again, so we don't have to land on top of this guy. I've actually done that multiple times, just landed right on top of him. And we're gonna jump right here. That's actually a very tricky section, because those floating eyeballs can just come out even like right before you touch the door, and that can be very frustrating. So we've gotten that little blue book. You've seen it appear a couple of times now. That is actually the equivalent of the double shot. So normally you get a Roman numeral 2, which is the double shot in the first Castlevania. Then there's a Roman numeral 3, which stands for the triple shot. Those have been replaced with sort of a small holy book, and then a large holy book. What I'm going to do here is just sort of use this, I keep wanting to call it the stopwatch, but the hourglass. I'm just trying to use it here to freeze all the eyeballs in place, because these parts are really, really difficult with them bouncing up and down with these moving platforms. And then you've got, those are the ghost equivalents, those little demon looking things. And yeah, some very tricky stuff to deal with. And we got another eyeball right there, and we're dead. So there we go. We're probably going to die a few times in this playthrough, unfortunately. I love to get through these things, you know, without continuing, or, you know, when it comes to Castlevania, without dying is always nice. But we will probably end up getting killed at least a couple of times in this playthrough, unfortunately. And we will probably end up taking a bunch of hits as well. One of the reasons for that is I'm not the most practiced at this game, because it is something I just learned very recently. But also I'm not the most motivated to play well at it, because I just don't enjoy it that much compared to, you know, just a regular normal Castlevania game. I'm just not very passionate about this game. Some people, I've heard really good things about this ROM hack, but when I got down to learning it, I was like, man, this just feels really... Like, I don't want to be mean about it, because obviously a lot of effort was put into this ROM hack, but it is just not something that plays all that smooth compared to, you know, the Konami developed games. And it is a ROM hack. Like, on one hand, I can't be too harsh about it, but then on the other hand, it's still not that much fun to play regardless, as much as I excuse away all of its so-called problems. So it's just one of those things that I just don't enjoy it that much, and so I also don't focus all that much when I'm playing it, and thus I don't play as well, end up dying and whatnot, and that's kind of actually like negative feedback, sort of like negative reinforcement. I get into this negative reinforcement loop with this game, and then I just have no fun playing it. But you know, it is what it is. So. Okay, so this section right here is actually kind of interesting. What you have to do is jump up and hit this block. There's a double shot right there. On the bottom, you've got the holy water, much like the holy water is placed in the original Castlevania, and I keep calling it the wrong names. It's actually a bomb in this game. Interestingly, a bomb was in Haunted Castle, the arcade game, and so it's actually interesting they brought that back in this. I'm not sure if that was an intentional reference to Haunted Castle or something like that, but it is quite interesting. So we're going to go ahead and grab that, and we might, if we're lucky, get ourselves a double shot here. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and just try to be patient with this guy. Those skulls are actually the bone pillar equivalents, and so if we hit that, yep, double shot appears. But you'll notice that we've actually locked ourselves in here. So just like before, where I mentioned that breakable block will respawn, you can't break it again. Well, it happened again here. So when I first encountered this, I thought there was actually no way to get past this. But if you stay here and just move off to the right, you actually walk over to the other side of the screen. So if you find yourself in the same situation, just keep that in mind, and just get the screen over all the way to the right, have it stop scrolling, and then and I think that's gonna be, there's probably gonna be a cross here somewhere. Actually no, there's not. Okay, I'm getting confused now because the item drop is so much higher. On my last playthrough, a cross dropped there, and I thought it was from the candle, but it's actually not from a candle. It was from an enemy. And this is some of the other glitchiness here. So let's go ahead and kill this guy first, and then I'll try to demonstrate it. This is the Medusa equivalent. I don't think it's still Medusa, but there's an invisible block here that you'll sometimes run into. You can see my bombs are, you know, activating on it. You can actually get stuck on that block. I actually did it on my Twitch stream. It was very frustrating. It's just this invisible block that you can get stuck on. And if you get stuck on it, you gotta wait for your time to run out, or just reset the whole game. So, kind of aggravating, just slightly. Just slightly aggravating. So, yeah, there are a bunch of polish issues in this ROM hack that make it more frustrating to play than it really should be. If the thing was polished up a little bit, you know, in that regard, I think it would be a little more enjoyable. You do have some secrets, though. You've got some invisible stairwells like this, or invisible staircases. So, we've got the scythe here, or the sickle, whatever you want to call it, and it's basically the axe equivalent. But we also have ourselves another invisible staircase right here, which takes us to the hourglass, which is what I want to use for most of this level. One positive change, though, I will admit, that they implemented is when you die in this game, you keep the sub-weapon that you had when you died, but you also get 30 hearts again. So you never really have to worry about running out of hearts in this when you die. So just keep that in mind. You don't get punished as much for dying in this as you would in the original Castlevania. So that is a positive change that helps balance out some of its difficulty issues. And so that is actually quite nice. So we're going to go ahead and use the hourglass again, just like so. And some more eyeballs are going to appear. Remember that just like in the original Castlevania, the direction that you are facing is where these guys appear. So knowing that will make certain parts a lot easier to deal with. So let's go ahead and just jump over them. Don't even really want to bother attacking them. Gonna use the hourglass here again. Because there's a little ghost, well, the ghost equivalent will spawn there. There was actually some health in a breakable wall to the left there, but we don't need it, so we're not going to get it. We're not going to worry about it. So, alright, we're actually making pretty good progress on this level, which is good. This level is actually, to me, it's one of the tougher stages in the game because of kind of how clunky the platform design is. It's just a bunch of these, like, little square platforms placed, and you just, you know, you fall down them like that, it just doesn't feel very good to platform here. So, you know, what we want to do is just play it really safe here. And unfortunately, I lost the invincibility, and the invincibility just makes life a lot easier. And I almost took a hit there, which isn't a big deal. Well, it would have been a big deal if I did take a hit, because I definitely would have died. And I did it again. So that's why the moving and whipping attack, or the slide whip attack, is pretty annoying. You can slide your way off a ledge, and it's a guaranteed death, pretty much. So it's very, very frustrating to deal with. And even though I've beaten this game about 5 or 6 times now, I still run into problems with it. Not as badly as I would have on my earliest playthroughs, but it is still pretty bad. It is still bad. But what's good about me dying like that in games like this is that you guys can see kind of how frustrating some of these playthroughs can be, like even for someone a little more experienced with them. You know, it's just, I really wish this whip attack just wasn't in this. The game would have been so much more fun without it. Like, yeah, it can be interesting, but it's not interesting enough for it to be worthwhile. I really feel it's one of those things that should have just been cut out completely, and the game would have been so much more fun without it. One other interesting thing is the developers said that apparently the jump height has been messed with, but I don't really notice a you know, necessarily higher jump height in this game. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there's like a special ability or something, but or maybe it is a tiny bit higher, but it's not high enough to where it's really all that noticeable. So, yeah, in their development notes, apparently the jump height was also messed with, but yeah, again, I don't really see a difference, so. But yeah, man, that slide whip attack could be so frustrating in this. It's just extremely frustrating. And you've got to be very, very careful with it, which is another reason why I just like to focus on using the hourglass here. Just to make life easier, because it also means I can just sit in place and attack these guys and not have to worry about stopping and attacking. You know, I don't have to really think as much on my feet when I'm using the hourglass or abusing the hourglass. So there's actually 2 ways you can do this down here. If you're low on health, I recommend going the bottom route, but you can actually take the top route here and just skip all these enemies. I'm going to actually take the bottom route because I want to show you what's down there. There are some hearts which will actually be useful on this boss, so we're just going to go ahead and just try to kill these guys without using my hourglass. So those big gems there, they're basically the big heart equivalent in this game. So they will give you 5 gems or diamonds or whatever they're called. And this is some health right here that you can get. So even if you take the top route, you can still fall down and then get this hidden block right here. And this boss is the mummy equivalent, so they're going to do the exact same thing. But what I like to do here is constantly tap up and attack with my stopwatch. It's a nice little trick you can do with the stopwatch. The stopwatch will not freeze these guys in place, but it'll pause them for just a split second. And if you keep pausing them over and over again, it'll slow down their rate of fire, which will make them easier. Also, there's a hidden health right here. There's normally a hidden health in this battle, but there's also the extra health right before the battle as well. So, yeah, kind of interesting design there. So, alright, we're on to stage 4. This level actually isn't that bad, as long as you've got the hourglass here. The first section has a couple points where you can, say, get stuck in the ceiling and then fall into the water there and die instantly. But I don't think we're going to have too many issues. Now, there are a couple of things you have to watch out for here. If you take the top route, there are a couple of sections where you can fall through the floor, much like Castlevania 2. So these guys were probably fans of Castlevania 2. So you really have to be careful with that. But what I want to do here is actually stay as close to this edge as I can, because I'm going to get stuck on that ceiling right there. And if you get stuck, you can actually miss this platform and fall to your death. So, you know, when you get a good rhythm with that section, it's actually not too bad. It was really annoying to learn, but once I sort of got the rhythm and flow down, it really wasn't that bad to deal with. And what's nice is on the Frankenstein and Igor fight here, we're gonna have ourselves the holy water. But what I want to do is, instead of freezing them in place, I do want to show off like the pattern a little bit. It's kind of interesting because on this fight, they've got pits you can fall into on the fight now. And so I do want to demonstrate that and kind of show how that works. Igor can actually fall into the pits, and fall to his death, and he'll just be out of the fight completely, which is really interesting. So I'm just gonna try to use the bomb here, just like so. These guys are definitely a little more aggressive than they are in the normal game. Again, I feel like they're using the AI for Loop 2, and just like in the original Castlevania, you can actually just walk right under this guy as he appears. Normally these guys were bone dragons, but they were made into bone skeleton dragons, I guess, in this one, which is kind of interesting. And so we have some hunchbacks here. I don't even know what they are in this. They're not really hunchbacks or flea men. They are a different design, so I don't really know what to call them. So I think there's also going to be an axe here that appears, or maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so one of the Fleamen actually dropped an axe in one of my recent playthroughs, and you know, the fact that the yeah, see, there's it's not an axe, it's a sickle, but the fact that the item drop ratio frequency has been messed with so much just screws with my head. I still don't know where things are in this game. So you know, here's the Igor equivalent. Sometimes he'll fall into the hole and just disappear from the fight completely, and there he goes. He's gone. So now all we have to do is deal with the Frankenstein equivalent. And I don't even know what he is. He doesn't even really look like Frankenstein, so I have no idea who he's supposed to be. Maybe he's just some generic guy. But he can actually walk over the pits as well. And as you notice on that left block, there was actually a invincibility power-up as well, so you could actually use that to your advantage, which is nice. On the Dracula fight at the very end, you actually have multiple invincibility power-ups, so in case you get cornered by, say, Dracula's second form, you can grab that power-up and just walk right through him. So that is another interesting change. Like, despite, you know, how much effort I have to exert when I play this ROM hack because I'm just not that into it, there are some interesting changes that are definitely noteworthy and can be seen as quality of life improvements as well. I think there's some quality of life downgrades, but there are some quality of life improvements as well at certain parts. Again, another one of the quality of life improvements is that you get to keep your sub-weapon after dying, and then you always start with 30 hearts again. And so what I'm going to do is actually jump up this way, and I was going to say, try to kill that skeleton equivalent. I don't even know what he is. Should we call him like a mage or wizard? He's not doing very wizardy things, but he's definitely not a skeleton. I can say that much for sure. So okay, we're going to go ahead and just drop that right there. I'm going to go ahead and I don't think this guy's going to actually walk forward, so we're going to be kind of stuck with him. Let's see. I do kind of want to kill him because he's going to make things a little more difficult here. That's not really a big deal. So we get the cross right here, or the boomerang, whatever you want to call it. I really want that for this fight. So this is the death level, where we have to fight this version's form of the Grim Reaper. And they've actually made that fight quite a bit more challenging. And the holy water really does not do very well on him, like it does in the original Castlevania. So you actually want to get a tripled cross, a double or tripled cross. And I didn't really talk about those columns, but those things are actually really tricky to deal with well. So those columns up top, they have horns, and there's an enemy right behind us as we spawn there. Very nasty design. But we've got these horns that we can walk on top of, but in the middle we will actually drop between them, so you have to watch out for that. Again, it's just kind of clunky. Instead of walking all the way across them, you fall where the head is, and it's just a little more annoying than it really needs to be. You can't actually walk through this, you have to jump over it, and there's also a bomb here if you want it. I don't recommend the bomb on this level. It's very useful on one specific section. Which is coming up right here, but past that section you don't really need it. You're actually better off having the cross. So, and I do want to take my time here. I do want to be relatively safe. Let's see if we can get this guy to jump up here. Like, no, come on up. Come on. Come on. Okay. And he's off the screen. Good. That's one less that we have to deal with. But there's another one that we have to deal with as well. Okay, good. Oh, whoa, that was very, very close. I was not expecting that guy to fall off. Normally he doesn't fall off. Normally those red guys are supposed to bounce, not bounce, but they get to the edge of a platform and then they walk backwards, but that did not happen. He actually fell right off of it, so that really caught me off guard. So you can actually do a couple things here. You can walk over like that, or you can jump up here and just skip this whole section completely. just like so. We can actually whip our way across that gap. So it's a gap you normally fall down, but you can, because you can, your slide whip attack actually goes off the platform until your whip is actually done, or your whip motion is done. You can actually just slide across gaps like that. So that is also kind of interesting. And these guys here are from Castlevania 2, and they're the axe armor equivalents, and they throw out sickles in this one. And so we're in good shape now. We've got a boomerang with the triple shot, and yeah, we're definitely in good shape here, so I'm not really too worried now. There's going to be a health drop coming up right here. So let's kill that bone pillar equivalent. Grab this invincibility, which sometimes appears and sometimes doesn't. It seems to really depend on, you know, how powered up you are. And again, you gotta watch out for these columns. Remember, you can fall down where the head is, and so, you know, I've made the mistake many times of thinking I could just walk right across, but nope, I can't. There's also going to be a screen clear right here. It says pentagram. There's also a hidden staircase, so if you're low in health, this is where the health pickup is. So we don't really need it because our health is already full. But let's go ahead and get this again. Ooh, and we took 2 hits, so we might not end up beating this boss because we did take 2 hits. Just trying to show off that secret, but it's okay. I'm not really too worried about it. We have 6 lives. I don't really care if I die a couple more times. And for some reason, there's an invisible block here. I have no idea why. You can go the bottom route there, but it's really inconsistent. I don't recommend it. I really don't recommend it. And notice that, like, the invisible block was gone the second time I tried to go through it. So, yeah, it's really odd. It's very, very odd. The invisible block is sometimes there, and then sometimes it's not. Very, very inconsistent. So we're probably gonna end up dying here because I've got no health to work with. But we'll hope for the best here. Kind of see what happens. You do get some bonus points for destroying multiple sickles back to back, which is always nice. And there we go. Uh-oh, no! That was my fault, but I was trying to avoid the sickle, and I just couldn't do anything about it. So let's go ahead and just do this again. I always want to use a cross right there, or a boomerang right there, because those ghosts on this level are extremely difficult to deal with. They're very fast, and they're placed in very trollish positions, just to really screw with you. And again, let's go ahead and grab this. And I still have a very weak whip right now. Yeah, I did find that sometimes the whip upgrade item drop rate has been messed with as well. And so sometimes you actually won't upgrade your whip fast enough. And so we're at a point where we don't have an upgraded whip. So maybe one of these will give us an upgraded whip. Probably not. Let's try to get this one right here. Yeah, there we go. Very good. Despite what these look like, these are not stairwells. You can't walk on these. I've already tried. So, okay, so we're back here with a triple shot cross and boomerang setup, which is good. So hopefully we can get this again, but not looking too good. So they have actually raised the difficulty of this fight in terms of the amount of sickles. So normally Death's fight on the first loop of Castlevania only has 3 sickles on screen at once. Or at least he only spawns 3 at a time as opposed to 4 at a time. In this version, he spawns 4 at a time. Now, in Castlevania Loop 2, he spawns 4 at a time. So I feel like this in this ROM hack, they use the Loop 2 you know, item rates and enemy rates and stuff like that, enemy properties, as the Loop 1 properties in this version. So it's kind of... Pardon me, I'm not making any sense right now, but basically they took the Loop 2 properties of enemies and things like that, and you know, used them as the Loop 1 properties in this. So it's kind of interesting, and it is definitely something that makes the game a little more difficult to deal with. And notice I'm just trying to skip past a lot of these crazy bat-looking things. Basically the first boss equivalent. I really like to get here with the hourglass. But unfortunately, you know, at this point in the game, the hourglass is basically a random drop. And I've actually gotten it a lot as a random drop. but it hasn't been dropping on my last couple of playthroughs, unfortunately. So I have to just get through that first section without it. And I actually picked up the bomb here. I didn't really want that, but I actually do want it, come to think of it, because this allows me to potentially get it doubled and tripled by the time I get to the boss fight. So I normally want to get it anyway for the last bosses here, but it's not as useful in the last boss if it's not doubled or tripled. But now it's doubled, so now we're good to go. Unfortunately, not much over here, so not really worth going to the left. But we're gonna go to the right and just drop down like so. And let's try to kill this guy up here. And there's a triple shot, and there's actually another one right here. Sometimes you can get 2 triple shots back to back on that specific block. I think it's because if you are on the ground and you whip straight while standing instead of ducking, it'll actually activate both blocks at the same time. And since they're both being activated at the same time, the game doesn't know what to do, and it just drops 2 triple shots, which is interesting. You can't go past a triple shot, but you can get 2 triple shots to appear at the same time in this game, which is kind of interesting. And then here we go. This is our final boss room. So what you don't want to do is jump down to the left. You can actually land on that platform, but you won't be able to get back up. You'll have to fall off to the right and kill yourself. Also, interestingly, there's a power-up right here. There's a health refill, but I can't get it. I've never gotten it before. And before I get to this fight, what I wanted to do is actually demonstrate a couple things. So if you press back and attack at just the right time, you can actually whip backwards, which is actually pretty interesting. I don't really ever use it in game, but if you get really good at it, you might find some use for it. Also, you can, just like in the first Castlevania, you can jump backwards. In Castlevania, you press back and jump at the same time. Or not really at the same time, but like you press back like the frame after you press jump. And you can do it in this, but it's actually easier in this. And you can, as a result, you can end up whipping, jumping and whipping backwards like so. So again, if you find a use for it, more power to you. I haven't really used it much, but it is something that you can do. So just like in the original Castlevania, you can make a bomb appear on this upper section, but just like in the original Castlevania, we're gonna follow Dracula's original pattern. So I can hit him once and then wait and then hit him again just like that. Recently, I actually put together a Castlevania tutorial video talking about the strategies for the various boss fights. And if you haven't seen that, I'll probably link it somewhere in the description or something like that. It's one of those. This is one of those strategies from that video. So you can attack him once, wait, and then jump and attack him again. He'll shoot fireballs either forward or upwards, and they'll go up if you're too high on the screen as he decides to shoot his fireballs. So this is basically the same fight as before. Except you've also got these power-ups here, just like so. So there's also one right here we can pick up. So we got a health refill, just like so. But what we're going to do is, since we have a triple bomb, we're just going to go ahead and use the bomb over and over, just like so. So I can use 2 like this, and get a couple of extra hits. And because we have platforms here, I can also just sit up here, like so. Although I don't think this is actually making contact. Let's let him fall. There we go. Alright. So that is it. That is Castlevania Blood Moon for the NES, an NES ROM hack. Now there is a second loop. I haven't gone through the second loop, and I don't intend on doing it right now. But at the end of the game, it says something along the lines of "Your quest is not over yet," or something like that, or the game continues, or something like that. I highly doubt there's an alternate ending if you go through 2 loops, but if you've played this before and you have gone through multiple loops, definitely let me know if there is more to it. I would assume there is not more to it, just like the original Castlevania, in terms of ending, but the difficulty might raise some more. So I'll have to do that sometime, probably not as a Let's Play or anything like that, but sometime down the road I will continue on a second loop and see how much more difficult it is. But in the meantime, if you know how much more difficult it is, be sure to let me know and post in the comments section down below. So you can see that the credits have changed. So again, this was a group effort. It wasn't just Red Rum as far as I could tell. So there are multiple people involved with this project. And, you know, despite how annoying it was to learn this, you know, I still think it's a solid ROM hack. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you're a fan of Castlevania. Just be warned, it is fairly clunky. It is difficult as a result. And, yeah, you may or may not have fun with it. Some people have really raved about this one, but I don't, you know, come to think of it, I don't even know if I really heard a lot of negative feedback about this this hack, but I do know a lot of people with the hack. This is a very popular reproduction. You can still find it for sale if you want to get an actual physical cartridge of it. Every reproduction seems to have a different label for it. There's no consistency with it. That seems to be you know, the way of the repro scene. But yeah, this was a very popular reproduction as well. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I don't really know what else to talk about here. Let's get glitched out on a tombstone. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough. I will be back with more horror-themed Let's Plays and live streams for this month, since this is October 2019 as of doing this. And sometime in the future, I will definitely revisit this idea with other Castlevania ROM hacks. I know there are quite a few Castlevania ROM hacks. And if you guys have any other Castlevania ROM hacks you would like to see, definitely let me know as well. And I'll add them to a list and consider trying to tackle them sometime in the future. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up or whatever. If you're new to my channel, definitely consider subscribing. I've got a lot of Let's Plays here and many, many more to come. So if you like this video format, there's plenty here for you. For everyone already subbed, thanks for your continued support. Hope you guys continue to enjoy these videos. And until the next one, take it easy.